Hello everyone and welcome back to Best of the Month. This is where a bunch of creators get together to discuss games and what they have most enjoyed playing in the last month. It's normally a new to us game that we pick, but it doesn't need to be a brand new game. Well, without further ado, my pick this month is a new game. Last time it certainly wasn't, this time it certainly is, and that is Marvel Unmatched Teen Spirit. Now, I won't go into full details. You can check out the review on the channel if you want to know more, but unless this box sucked, it was probably going to be one of my favourites this month, because Unmatched as a series just really has grabbed me. Now, these are three interesting new characters to play as with their own map in sort of with that Marvel theming. Going into it, did I know much about Squirrel Girl? Well, no, not really. I knew even less about Cloak and Dagger though, and I only knew Miss Marvel from recent times when the Disney Plus show came out. But still, three different, very different heroes, one with long punches, one which litters the battlefield with sidekicks, something that's not been done before. I think the maximum sidekicks before was 3, and that was like the Merry Men for Robin Hood, 8 squirrels for Squirrel Girl, and well, then you've got Cloak and Dagger, which are 2 heroes. That's only been done before when there was the 3 Raptor heroes as sort of one unit, and that means you can put those against each other and have a lot of heroes fighting each other now. Now, there's some matchups which I do think will not work out very well. Squirrel Girl versus the likes of Ghost Rider. That's going to suck for Squirrel Girl because she's all about move away, put some squirrels down, then do some stuff. Ghost Rider's just going to go through and burn all the squirrels, which is a horrible thing to think about. But these characters are pretty cool. Out of them all, Miss Marvel is definitely the one to play as just pure punching ability and fun. Cloak and Dagger has some really cool combo abilities though. And any opportunity to get Unmatched back to the table and have even the slightest bit of sort of breath of fresh air, well, I'm not going to complain. That's Marvel Unmatched. But let's see what other people have picked this month.
Hi, it's Barb, MeeplePhD, and my favorite play of April 2023 is The Lost Runes of Arnak. This is a game that got a lot of buzz a couple of years ago when it first came out. We've been loving on it ever since, and I was able to get it to the table a few times this month, and every time it was just a joy to play. This is a game where you are doing a little bit of deck building in order to send your archaeologists out to discover new sites, to overcome guardians who are guarding those sites, ultimately to do research and move yourself up this one research track, and of course, trying to get the most points. What I really like about this game is how all of those mechanisms come together and just sing. The arc of the game is also really amazing. Like at the beginning, like any deck builder, you have kind of a cruddy deck, and you're not going to do a whole lot in the round. But by later in the game, you've built up cards in your deck, you've gotten ways to add new cards hopefully throughout the round, you've set yourself up with some resources and other things, and the turns kind of get longer and longer, the round gets longer, but I'm not annoyed by that because, if someone else is taking a little bit longer on their turn, I'm also just thinking through all the possibilities of what I can do. Maybe I want to discover a new site because it might just get me that resource that I need to move up on the research track and get a whole bunch of points for the end of the game. But maybe that's not worth it. Maybe I should go do something else that guarantees a different resource that I want, and then I could do something else with my turn. And so I just love all of those decisions that you have to make. I love the arc. I love how, it feels so small at the beginning of the game, like you haven't done much of anything, and by the end you look and you've moved almost all the way up the research track. And you have this nice deck of cards, and when you draw one, you're really hoping for a certain something to help you out. The game has so much replayability. The base box itself has a 2-sided board, so when you get bored of one side, you can flip it over, has a different research track with a few different goals and how you move up it. But then this expansion that came out, the Lost Expedition Leaders, is amazing. This adds asymmetric powers to the players so that at the beginning of the game you have a slightly different deck from everybody else, and a special ability that breaks the rules in a certain way or gives you an additional action that you can do that no one else can do. And I really love what this adds to the game. You know, each time you start with a different leader, it gives you a slightly different direction in the game and helps you decide on a strategy. And it forces you into strategies that you maybe haven't tried before. And I really like that part of this expansion. So, you know, Lost Ruins is a super solid game. If you like deck building, if you like the resource management and using deck building with a board, this is one you might want to check out. I will see you again next time. You can look for me on the internet as MeeplePhD on Instagram and Twitter. I have my own YouTube channel where I connect astronomy and board games, so go check that out if you have any interest in astronomy. Otherwise, I will see you next month, and have a great month gaming.
Hey buddies, welcome to Amass Games. My name is Simon. Today I'm bringing you my best of the month for April 2023. Now this game is just out of shot, you might just see the catch of it here. This is a deck building game for 2 to 4 players. Check out my how to set up, play and review. Just Google Amass Games, Eldorado or Amass Games Quest and you'll find it from there. So this is for 2 to 4 players as I mentioned. It's by Ravensburger. It's a deck building race game, something I particularly do enjoy. I have played other versions of this before. It takes about 45 to 60 minutes. I've played through all the different scenarios on here. I've also played some extra fan-made ones as well. This is the original artwork. You can get the Vincent Drake new edition as well. I know that the expansion for hexes and stuff like that isn't compatible with the newer art, but this one in particular I would like to try with that new, either new artwork as well, but also with that expansion. Highly enjoyable game. I do have it sleeved as well. I guess it is because it is a deck building game. Highly rate it, 9 out of 10. I first played it years ago and now it's come around to me being obviously best of the month. Get myself a copy as well. Check this game out, a lot of fun, isn't too difficult to teach. New players enjoy it as well. So there we go, best of the month. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the rest for Eldorado. Quest for Eldorado because there are other games called Eldorado. But there you are. Speak to you again soon for next month. For now, back to the table.
Hi, it's Chris and Angie from the Chasing Meeples podcast, and we have a couple games to tell you about this month. The first is Three Sisters. It's a roll and write game published by 25th Century Games from the designer of Fleet the Dice game. In this game, you play a gardener who is companion gardening when I solo games. So I'm going up against Farmer Edith. She's not nice. She's a mean neighbor of yours. She's a mean neighbor who's going to try to destroy your garden.
What? My garden?
Your garden. Yep. So you better get your crops planted before she has time to come in there and stomp them down to the ground.
Ooh. Is Edith worse than those rabbits that always eat like my stuff when I plant a garden?
Yes, because the rabbits are cute.
I really don't like Edith. I haven't even met her and I don't
Chris,
like her.
what else have we been playing?
So the game that I want to talk about this month is a game that came out of nowhere, wasn't on my radar. It was on Angie's radar. If you listen to our episode of our top anticipated games of 2023, you will be able to hear how excited Angie was about this game. And the game is Distilled. Distilled, first time game designer Dave Beck and Paverson Games. You never would have thought it. Never would have thought it. This game is so streamlined. It is good. It is good. And it's very thematic. So you play the role of somebody who just inherited a distillery from a long lost relative. The goal of this basically is to get the most points at the end of the game. The cool part about this game is the distilling phase. And the distilling phase, you take all, once you decide what you want to make and you go through the market phase and you buy all the ingredients that you need, you take those ingredients and you put them in a deck. You shuffle that deck up. You mix all of your ingredients around basically. And when you are ready, you take the top card and the bottom card off. And what is left in your hand is the spirit that you distilled. It's got a little bit of push your luck to it. If you want to edge the odds in your favor, you probably want to add a little bit more sugar to your batch. If not, then take that chance. And then once you get your alcohol made, you decide which kind of bottle it goes to. There's so many ways to score in this game. It is great. Distilled, Paverson Games. This one is great. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.
Yes, me again. I'm not picking another game, do not worry. I'm just here to sort of say, well, all of these other creators are really awesome. They send the clips in to me to be part of the show. Check the links out for their channels or whatever in the description box below. You won't regret it. Now, on to the next one.
Hello, my name is Fotios,
And I'm Elena,
and this is the Game Court.
and this is the game of the month.
This is our Barrage, our copy of Barrage,
We
which
finally played it.
Yes.
One of our subscribers, a few of our subscribers actually recommended it to us, so we played it, and it's awesome. So it's the game of our month.
and they were very
Our
correct.
game of the month. There you go.
And they were very correct, right?
Sure. Yes.
It's an amazing game, Barrage.
So technically, what you do is you build dam and you produce hydro energy, and then you sell it.
It's an economic industry manufacturing game, and it's kind of the genre that we really like here.
Very similar to Brass in Rules, as in
Yes.
rules compared to the strategy that you build behind. They're very simple, and the strategy is very heavy, which is what we like.
Yes, and it's very comprehensive. Everything in this game makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
How the water flows makes sense.
Yeah. How
And-
to build the dams and why you build them and why you do stuff around. It just makes sense all around, doesn't
Exactly, exactly. The game is basically worker placement, right?
it? Where you can get the same action if you're fast enough, or you can build your strategy differently. You can use less workers, or you can use more workers if you want to do the action twice.
Yes, or you can do a lesser action if you're not fast enough to be the first to visit a worker placement position. But you also have asymmetric powers, which is one of your best features in the games.
Yes, you can get asymmetric powers from your character itself, or you have an officer to help you as well.
Yes, correct.
Which might give you, I think, a little bit of replayability there as well.
And you have the construction wheel, which basically when you build your bases or your elevations or your conduits or your factories, you place your machinery there, and this takes a full rotation until your machinery comes back to you to become available.
That's awesome, isn't
Yes.
it? Something else that might give you a bit of
Replayability.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the translation. Are the contracts that you get either at the end of the round, or you just get contracts throughout the game and then you fill them in and you sell your energy technically?
Yes, you get more perks while you produce energy. You get more
Yeah,
perks from the
and
contracts.
you have like
exactly.
3 different contracts levels, so you can like get something cheaper, or you can use a lot of energy and get a lot of perks.
But also talking about replayability, you also have the different end of round and end of game objectives, which every time they make the game a bit different.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
that's in case you do get to them, right?
Yes, correct.
Equally, there is an expansion.
Yes, there's the Nile expansion, which is an official different map for the game, but there's also fan-made maps for the game, like
Yes.
a 2-player only map.
I mean, we've not played them, but we've heard a lot of good things about them.
Correct.
And finally, the way it's actually made, I think the little details in between different players, all the wooden pieces are very different, which gives it a nice touch.
Yes, very nice production overall. So this is our game of the month. We really love it.
I hope you give it a go.
It's Barrage. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Julian and this is Libby and we are BoxedMeeples. So as always, we've played a lot of games in April, but today we're going to talk about the particular one we found most interesting.
Yeah, I'm going right back to the very beginning of the month when we played June Imperium again for the first time in ages. And I mean, it must have been the first or the second of the month. It was way back. And we managed to play with a friend's copy who has all of the expansions, the deluxe upgrade kit. I mean, this version is fully pimped out.
Calling it Lux is a bit of an understatement. He's raided Etsy. Everything you could possibly get for Dune Imperium he has.
Yes.
From neoprene mats.
Oh, the map was delightful. Delightful.
It was a joy to play on that.
Yeah. And we love June. It's in, I think, both of our top 20s. And we have the expansion, which we had yet to play until this point. And then we also managed to put in the Immortality one, which, given that it had been a little moment since we'd last played it, at the beginning of the game, it was kind of a bit like, oh gosh, how do we play this one again? But it just reminded me of how much I really enjoy this. Really enjoyed what the extra expansions brought, as well as the playmat, of course, and all those different options that you have. You know, do you go after the spice? Do you go after the tracks? Are you doing some of the new bits in the expansion? So many options. Can't wait to get it back to the table again. Yeah, just really, really enjoyed playing this again, and it's definitely on my list of games to be got back to the table as soon as possible.
Yeah, I hadn't quite remembered the depth you have on that. You know, when you're buying from the track at the top at the end of your turn, maybe reserving cards. Like, there's so many clever mechanics that work really well together.
Yeah.
And interestingly, we both favoured the expansion we didn't have, which is interesting.
Oh, it means someone's shopping basket's looking a little bit weighty again, but we'll see what happens there.
Well, I've wasted over 100 hours of my life playing this game on the Switch, Stardew Valley. I'm sure you've all heard of it if you've ever played a video game recently. It's a game where you do very little. You just bumble around running a farm. You might do a bit of, looking after your pets. You might do a bit of vegetable growing. You might go in the mine. And at the UK Games Expo, the first game I actually picked up was the board game version of this game. It had initially come out in the first edition, had some problems which were fixed in the second edition, and you could not get this suddenly for love nor money. So when I saw it there, I literally bought it as soon as the UK Games Expo started. And then it sat on our shelf.
Yeah, we've literally just got it to the table this month. What were we doing?
Yeah, so April was my birthday, and I chose this game as the game I desperately wanted to play, for birthday celebrations. I'm so pleased we did. You hear so many people talking about so many good things about this game, and I understand why. It differs from the video game because I think really the nature of the mediums that's it's transcending. Because in a video game you don't really have objectives. You just do things, and it's relaxing. That wouldn't work so well in a board game. You need to have motivation, you need to have things you're meant to be doing, which does mean a very relaxing game about just existing turns into quite a kind of stressful cooperative game.
Yeah, although I did read about the ways that you can change the difficulty level, so I think that you could sort of add more or less of that in, maybe.
You could make it more of a gradual thing. But we played it as a 3-player game, and I was surprised at the amount you had to achieve in a very limited amount of time.
Yeah, you were having to max out those turns, weren't we?
And if you've played cooperative games before, you begin to know you have certain skills your character's going to be good at, and then that means you kind of have to focus on those. And we did run a very efficient ship when we were playing this. We were successful, which apparently seems quite rare in this game. And we got one ball slightly wrong, but I don't think that error meant that we won unnecessarily easily. But it was such a fun game to play. We had a really good experience playing it. It looks beautiful on the table. It really does look lovely. Not necessarily in keeping with the game because it's not pixelated, but just a lovely homage, a tribute to that game. Of course, if you haven't played the video game, that doesn't matter. You never had.
No, and I still like the vibe of it, and I think from what I've seen of the game, as you say, it doesn't have that like 16-bit sort of. It's like some of the other games that we have, like Boss Monster. It doesn't have that vibe, but it still picks up that theme really well, I think.
And it takes all the good bits of the game and transfers those to a board game system and works really, really well. I really loved it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to play it again we weren't playing on a hard difficulty because we finished everything, but all of our objectives kind of married together. So I'd like to play it again, ideally at 2 players, because I think double-handing it would be really good. So you're controlling 2 characters, because then that will then avoid the fact that you're having to go to the same space again and again and again to be maximum efficiency, which means you then get to enjoy a broader selection of what the game offers, which is just a lot of mini games essentially. All around the map you're doing different things, and each one of those have a different kind of way of playing them, and it just feels really diverse and exciting, and a really fun way to play a couple of hours.
Yeah, and one other thing that I will say that was great about this game is that I had some serious mobility issues this month, and we were able to play this on a coffee table with me having a sort of player's tray on a comfy chair. I could still see enough of the board and work out what I was doing, and other people just moved me about. But if you do have someone that you need to play with that needs to be a bit more comfy, not around a normal table and chairs, great option.
I think cooperative games work really well for that situation.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Josh from the YouTube channel Joshyaks, where I talk mostly about unplugged hobbies such as board gaming and books. And the best game that I played in the month of April that I haven't previously mentioned in a best of the month video is my very favorite cooperative game that isn't a legacy style game, because legacy style games tend to be my very favorite. But the game is Spirit Island. In this amazing game, players play as elemental spirits who are working together with the indigenous peoples of their island to repel foreign invaders that are trying to come in and take over the islands. This game probably has the most asymmetrical roles of any game I've ever played, in that each spirit that you can play with plays out very, very differently from the next. Each one has its own special powers, its own starting cards, and although all the spirits are essentially doing the same thing in terms of just eliminating invaders and sowing fear and discord amongst the invaders, the specific way it's done for each spirit is very interesting and new and challenging, and that's one reason why the weight rating on BGG is over 4 out of 5, because the game itself, with the way the rounds are structured, isn't all that complicated. However, getting to know how to play your specific spirit most effectively and efficiently is where the challenge of the game lies. Players, like I said, start with their basic hand of cards for their spirit, but in a kind of deck building aspect, they acquire more cards and more powerful abilities from those cards, and they continue to build their own little spirit with its own powers. In that way, too, it tends to prevent the whole quarterbacking element of cooperative games, because players have so much to think about just with their own spirit and their own cards and their own powers that there's no way one person could direct everybody on how to play the game. So that is one bonus to having very asymmetrical spirits. I play it with the Branch and Claw expansion, which I highly recommend. It adds a couple of very, very interesting elements to the game, and I think it overall makes the game a little bit easier. So, interestingly enough, adding the expansion I think is a good move for beginners to the game. And if all that wasn't enough, the game has nearly endless replayability, because it comes with these scenarios you can add into the game. So you can have an individual scenario that changes something slightly about how the game is played, or you can play it over an entire campaign where you're playing against a specific kingdom, like the Kingdom of England, and you play through a whole series of games that each ramps up the difficulty one level at a time and gradually builds upon itself. So between all the ways you can play the game, plus all the spirits that are included and everything that's going on, the replayability is nearly infinite. For those who enjoy cooperative gaming and who enjoy burning some brain cells in the process, I really highly recommend Spirit Island. It's a ton of fun. Cheers.
And well, that about wraps us up this month. Some awesome games. What was your favourite? What would you have picked that we didn't even talk about? Let us know in the comment section below. And as I did mention, please do check out all of the creators involved. Links in the description box down below. And until next month, have a great month gaming.